The latest edition of Newsweek magazine getting some attention today for a report that suggests that America overreacted to 9/11. The magazine points to al-Qaeda's failure to launch another major terror attack in the U.S. since that day, but instead of calling it a national security success, it paints a pathetic picture of Tinker Toy terror networks struggling to get out of their own way. Mike Gallagher is a syndicated radio talk show host. Nice to spend some time with you on this Labor Day, Mike. How you doing?
Hey, Rick. How are you? Happy Labor Day to you.
Same to you, my friend. Okay, so this is Fareed Zakaria, who happens to host a show on another cable network in addition to his work at Newsweek magazine. And let's put this quote up here real fast. I'd love for you to react to it. Here's what he says. He says, can anyone doubt that al-Qaeda is simply not that deadly a threat? While it has inspired a few much smaller attacks by local jihadis, it has been unable to execute a single one itself. But does he have a point?
No, he doesn't. And I've got a theory, Rick, about Newsweek, which is they're trying, they've done this whole redesign of the magazine. They're provocative now on a regular basis. So I don't know if this is just a shock factor to try to make headlines. But this is many Americans' worst nightmare that, 9 years later, call it antipathy, call it forgetting, call it distraction. But honestly, now we have somebody who would write in a major American news magazine that we overreacted to. What kind of overreaction could there be to what they did to us on September 11th? I mean, al-Qaeda pulled off a pretty amazingly evil and brilliant plan that slaughtered several thousand Americans. And to say that, well, they've kind of petered out since then, first of all, let's give credit where credit is due, Rick, and that's to President Bush and his tenure as president. I had the blessing of spending some time in the Oval Office with President Bush one-on-one, and he was fixated. He was almost obsessed with never letting anything like that happen on American soil again. And you know what? He was successful. But a Fareed Zakaria, who's trying to make noise and trying to get anybody to watch him, I guess, over at the other network, is just trying to create shockwaves. Well, and it's just sad.
So
and it's pathetic.
So let me play devil's advocate, Mike, because he makes some points. The failed underwear bomber. The failed Times Square bomber, the Fort Hood shooter, as successful as he was, he sort of seemed to be sort of out there on his own. Is al-Qaeda more dangerous? And this is not a point that Zakaria spells out in his piece, but is al-Qaeda more dangerous to us now as an idea, more so than an actual organization?
Oh, I mean, I don't even think there's any question they're the proverbial boogeyman. However, two of the cases you cite, Rick, the underwear bomber and the Times Square bomber, there, but for the grace of God, were people not killed by, by scores of people killed because of, the detonation not working right, and there was a malfunction of the bombs. I mean, listen, we got very, very lucky, and many people think it's only a matter of time before our luck is going to run out. And so to drop our guard, to drop our defenses, I think contradicts everything that this country believes in terms of standing tall when it comes to national security. This is just an appalling display of ignorance when it comes to right versus wrong and good versus evil. I mean, al-Qaeda's not that bad. I mean, what's worse? Who's worse? These are bloodthirsty terrorists that we have done a great job over the last nearly decade of decimating. That doesn't mean the threat is over, and we sure can't believe Fareed Zakaria's assertion that somehow, the threat isn't so bad anymore.
Do you think that al-Qaeda
is...
Do you think al-Qaeda, we have about a minute, Mike, is capable of pulling off another 9/11 type attack inside the U.S.?
Oh, I think that we know that there are millions, perhaps, of people around the world who want to destroy this country, who want to wipe Israel off the map. Yeah, I think that every intelligence report that we've ever seen published in the news media says, of course, they could do it again. And the risk of something like this, a scurrilous article like this, is that our enemy is watching. I had somebody here at the Fox Bureau in Miami who said the real enemy isn't as bad as the people overseas. It's the people here. It's people within. It's people like Fareed Zakaria, frankly, who say these outrageous things in the name of trying to make news for themselves. And the enemy thinks we're going to be a paper tiger. And God help this country if they follow through because, they think we're not watching and we've dropped our guard. It's shameful.
And you mentioned President Bush. Does the current president deserve any credit for there not being an attack on U.S. soil in the 19 months since he walked into the front door of the White House?
You might guess I'm not a big President Obama fan, but listen, I think credit is due. I mean, you know, there certainly has been an effort with the drones in Afghanistan, and it's still a continuation of the war on terror. So far, I mean, again, under his watch, the Times Square bomber, the Christmas Eve bomber, Fort Hood happened under his watch. With George Bush, there were no acts of terror under his watch, but thus far, we obviously haven't seen anything close to the calamity of 9/11, and let's just hope and pray that our luck continues.
Mike Gallagher is a syndicated radio talk show host and a friend. Mike, thanks so much.
Thanks, Rick. Great seeing you. Take care.
You too.